Welcome back to the lab. It is your old Professor Pilka. We've got to talk about the new Samurott raid because I'm going to say initially I was a bit concerned about this because when I was doing all the arithmetic on it, he had type effectiveness over every single type out there. So while it is a tough raid, it's definitely not as bad as it could have been. Now, as always, we're going to try to cover a way that you can actually solo run this and make it fairly easy. But the reality is if you can run this with friends, you'll knock this out of the park in no time whatsoever. So, first things first, what is the build? Well, Samurott is a water type with a bug Tera. So we really want to use something super effective against that bug Tera. And honestly, they actually left the door open for us here. They had covered up every single type. But flying is open. Flying is super effective against bug. Flying is going to be our go-to. Now, dragon also and fighting also, as it turns out, are not covered up. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Koraidon here with a flying Tera type. I've actually changed his Tera type to flying. I did that over at Gym Leader Larry's Sushi Chef. And that is going to be our go-to for this. Now, moves-wise, we're going to use Breaking Swipe to lower his attack early on in the game. Drain Punch will then, if we need some healing or something like that, if we're fully built up, we use Drain Punch. It'll hit pretty hard, and it'll give us some health back. Swords Dance is just going to increase our attack power, and Acrobatics is going to be our main DPS. Acrobatics is going to produce all of the damage once we're built up. If you guys don't know how this works, we literally just kind of like build up and build up and build up, debuff the opponent, buff ourselves. And the really nice part is in Swords Dance is a double buff. It basically double buffs our physical attack stat. We're just going to kind of go to town. Now, as far as EV training goes, I've done a little bit. Unfortunately, you'll notice it's kind of all over the place. It's because I've done some random battles with this Pokemon. But I went ahead and raised physical attack all the way up and HP as far as it will go. I'm not really just too worried about other stats at this moment. Could have put a little bit more in defense. But I kind of have my stats maxed at the moment. And then I have to go in and remove some EVs and things like that. Go watch my EV video on how all that's done. But honestly, it's not that big of a deal. It's. I think this will be more than adequate for what we're doing here. Now, as always, we're going to go in here and challenge alone and see if we can beat this Pokemon with the Koraidon that I've made. Now, I will say, Koraidon's not the only option here. I actually built a Salamence to do roughly the same thing. Salamence has a very similar move set, or at least as far as all these go. And the nice part is Salamence has a lot of the flying moves as well. So, I built that mod out, but because he has 80 physical defense, or 80 base physical defense, and Koraidon was like 110, Koraidon just kind of came out on top. But if you don't have Koraidon, Salamence is another excellent option here. So that Focus Energy, we didn't talk about what moves he does. So I'm going to come out of the gate with Breaking Swipe. He's got Aqua Cutter, which is a water move, Mega Horn, which once again is a bug move. We saw that last time. Night Slash, which is a dark move. Drill Run, which is Earth, and then his extra actions are Focus Energy, like you saw, Swords Dance, which he'll use later on, and then Bulldoze, which he actually just used a moment ago. Those main moves, though, are basically the DPSs you have to watch out for. Now, the nice part about Koraidon, because Koraidon natively increases the brightness of the room, he brings out the sun there, that is going to halve the effectiveness of water moves. So basically, our opponent's never going to use a water move. So Aqua Cutter's already taken off the table. He's basically going to spam Mega Horn. Downside is, like you see here, Mega Horn is going to have a high critical rate, but, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. Now, I believe we've hit him with Breaking Swipe 3 times now. So he should be putting up a shield. Another critical hit there. There we are. So he puts up a shield, and then he's going to nullify stat changes on our side of the fence. There we go. Now, from this point forward, we're going to focus on Swords Dance. We need to do Swords Dance 3 times. 3 times. And that is going to increase our attack all the way to the roof. Now, his attack is only down 3, but I think that's plenty. Plus, you know, with the critical hits, they ignore all those stats anyway. So we're just kind of doing what we're doing. When he's not getting critical hits, it's basically going to tickle. When he is getting critical hits, it doesn't matter if we lowered it anyway. It would have just ignored everything. So, in essence, going any lower than 3 isn't really worthwhile. Okay, so he just ate his berry. We did give him a citrus berry. That's going to give him a bit of health back, and that's really good that it waited this long to do it, because that means I can do one more Swords Dance, max that beast out, and now we can go to this battle. Now, Acrobatics is really interesting. Acrobatics is a 55 base damage, but when a Pokemon is not holding an item, that damage is doubled. So now that Citrus Berry has been eaten, our damage is now doubled. So that's a 110 attack stat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here into battle, I'm going to Terrastalize, and I'm going to hit him with Acrobatics. And that should be enough, honestly, to break his shield. Here we go. Now, I am worried about critical hits a little bit. Basically, what I'm going to do from this point going forward is, if we need some health, kind of focus on Drain Punch and maybe even some Cheer Heals. But you see how badly that hurt him? He's reeling. Now, so long as we can avoid some... Okay. So he did just do a stat change, and that is... I thought that would happen a little bit later, but that's just 3 Swords Dances, and we're back in action. We may not even need to do that, but I'm going to do it to try to close this up. Let's go. Swords Dance number 2. Ooh, another critical hit. So in this turn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a Cheer Heal. Remember, I do like Cheer Heals just because they tend to come in a lot sooner. You don't have to worry about attacks coming in out of the blue before they take effect. Also means I'm probably going to focus on Drain Punch for a couple of turns. Let's do one more Cheer Heal. Those critical hits really hurt. Like, that's the biggest thing here. That's the RNG factor to this are going to be those critical hits. So we want to retain as much as we can as far as the Tera type goes. See, another critical hit. I'm telling y'all. So now he's used Swords Dance. So essentially what we've reduced so far is now been nullified. But I'm going to do Swords Dance one more time, and then we're going to do Acrobatics. There we go. That's our 3rd Swords Dance if you haven't been keeping track. And that basically means that Acrobatics is now going to be much more... Bruh! Okay. So he's removed all of his stat effects. So basically his Swords Dance was just nullified. So let's do a Drain Punch here. Okay, we should come away with... Oh, we got plenty of health out of that. I do like that. So I can then just basically go back and forth, do a turn of Acrobatics, do a turn of Drain Punch, do a turn of Acrobatics, do a turn of Drain Punch. And that's assuming he's going to keep criticaling. Is criticaling a turn? Oh man, actually the next Acrobatics is probably going to wipe him out. But of course, another critical hit. So for the sake of being defensive, I'm going to do another Drain Punch. We just have to survive one more crit. Oh man, look at that health though. Bruh. No, we good. We good. And this is over with. I could probably have finished this up a lot faster if I had just not been critical every 12 seconds. But you know, it is what it is. Take it home there, Chief. Damn. Now, the argument too is, I suppose rather than lowering his attack, we could focus on lowering his defense. That is another option, but I'm going to go ahead and catch this mod, and I don't know what ball I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and use a heavy ball. He looks kind of heavy, doesn't he? That'll be fun. So if you get any, I forget what his pre-evolution is. You know, he's one of the water starters. He's the little seal one. If you get any of those guys in a heavy ball, check the previous trainer. It might be me. So there you guys go. Quick, easy, to the point. Koraidon wrecks this, and like I said, you could do it with Salamons and a number of other mon like that too. But like, comment, share. I'll come back with more Pokemon for you guys here really, really soon.